Hello everybody, welcome to tech tip number 15, how to format an external drive when you don't see all the data. Let's take a look. Okay, here on my screen we see this here drive, external G. We see that it is 270 gig. It's currently empty, so none of the space is being used. If I had anything in there, then it would have this little blue bar filling it up, showing how much has been used and how much is still free. The blue representing used space and the white representing free space. So have you ever noticed this drive is larger than 270 gig? It's a 500 gig external drive. So why do we only see 270 gig? And if you've ever tried, you might even try formatting it. You might have gone into it and deleted everything and you're like, I can't see all 500 gig. So let me format it. You can right click and go to format. And when the little window pops up, you can give it a new name if you want to right there in the volume label. And in the capacity, you see that it's just 270 gig. That's all it's ever seeing. You might have tried a different file system. It doesn't matter. No matter what you do, this thing continues to show that it's only 270 gig or whatever size it is. Sometimes you have a 32 gig little USB drive and you only see 4 gig, or it can be all over the place. There's no consistency to it. And really quick, I'll explain that what is causing this is that something was using that drive. It could be an installation of Linux. Maybe you used a software to create an ISO and a .iso image onto that flash drive ready to boot up. Or maybe you used it for like a Windows Media installation tool to create an external installation of Windows on that USB drive. There's a lot of different things that can cause that to happen. And it's kind of tricky. It's not really easy. I mean, it's super easy how to fix it, but you have to know what you're doing. And the more Googling you do, you might finally come across some article that tells you how to fix this. And sometimes you don't. Sometimes it just says you just have to format it or, check the volumes, and nothing really leads you to the correct answer. So I'm going to show you the way that I always do it. There might be more ways of fixing this. It's just the way that I prefer because I like CLI. I like using PowerShell or CMD, whatever your flavor is. I like PowerShell. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open PowerShell. Now, if you're using command prompt, it's the exact same thing. The first thing you're going to do is type in disk part. And that's another reason I like PowerShell, because it starts auto-populating what it thinks you want to type. If you just press the right arrow, it auto-completes the rest. So type in disk part, no space. You're going to do exactly as you see me do. Press enter and you're going to see that you're now under disk part command line. First thing you're going to do is list disk with a space in between and press enter. This is showing you all of your disks that you have in your computer, now including your external drives. So as you see, I have 4 internal drives and then 1 external. So we see here 5 drives. It always starts with disk 0, and it might be in this same order. It might not be, because I could have labeled my first disk, which is 0, as drive H, and then the second one is drive C. So it would be in a different order, but sometimes they're in the same order. The way you can tell, the easiest way to tell, is by looking at the total size of those drives. And fortunately for me, I only have 2 that are the exact same size, which is a 2 terabyte drive being disk 0 and disk 3. And we can see that represented here by the C drive and the E drive, both being a 2 terabyte drive. Obviously, due to the file conversion of bits to bytes, we only get 1.86 terabytes of usable space. But these are 2 terabyte drives. Now, we see this last one, 465 gig. Now, I know that it's a 500 gig external drive. So I know that this is the one because, again, we lose a little bit of storage based on the conversion of bits to bytes. And here is my 500 gig external. Now, another way to tell would be, if you really want to go through this, you can unplug it from your computer, the external drive, unplug it, and then do the list disk again, and whichever one is no longer appearing, you know that that's the right one. Plug it back in, do the list disk again, and you'll see it appear. Now you're confident that you know which one is which. That's important to do because what we're about to do is will destroy all data on that drive. So the only way that I like to do this again is with PowerShell, and this process will completely erase all the content on that external drive, whether it's in this visible partition, in a different partition, regardless of volume, all data will be lost. So if there's something on there that you need to retain, you better copy that off first to one of your local drives before you do this. Now, if there's nothing that you need to keep on there, you're totally fine. You can move forward. So we know that my disk is disk 4. So I'm going to type in select disk 4 and press enter. Spaces in between just as you see, and you get a little acknowledgement. Disk 4 is now the selected disk. Now the easy part, clean. Now before you do that, you can type in list partition if you want to see more information about what is currently on that disk. You don't have to do this step. But what I see here is that there's a partition, and it's the primary. That's really irrelevant for this moment, but there's one partition that is 270 gig. And that's what we're seeing here, 270 gig. So that must imply that of this 465 gig, there is roughly 200 gig or 190 gig that is not partitioned. I could create a second partition, or I could expand this partition, but that's only going to be easy if this is like a raw drive that hasn't been used or file converted by some other application like the Windows Media Creation Tool or a Linux installation or something along those lines. So what I'm going to do with disk 4 selected is type in the word clean. Nothing else, just press enter. Disk part succeeded in cleaning the disk. And notice, it's gone from up here. Poof, it disappeared. You just erased everything. You deleted the partition, you deleted all files that are on there. It's gone. It's not usable either. So now we need to do the next steps to recreate those partitions. We need to type in create partition primary and press enter. Obviously spaces in between. Disk part succeeded in creating the specified partition. Perfect. Now we need to format that. Now if I type in list partition, we should now see that there's a partition that is using the total size of 465 gig. Perfect. You don't have to type that in. Let's go ahead and format that drive. So we're going to type in the word format, space, fs equals NTFS, or if you need to do a different file type system like exFAT or FAT32, whatever you need to do. Don't do FAT32, but if you need to do FAT or something else, you can do that. Space quick. Whoops, I think I added a tab. So space quick. And quick is telling it that you want this to happen quickly. And press enter. This is going to happen super fast depending on the size of your drive. This really won't go. I was going to say the progress bar won't adjust much. It's just going to stay at 0 until it's complete. And then it'll say 100%. Disk part succeeded. Successfully formatted the volume. So now you can leave PowerShell or command prompt if you wish to. If you want to go ahead and create the drive letter in here, you can do that. You would do that by typing in I had to think about that. Assign letter equals, and I'm going to give it a new letter. Let's say M. So assign space letter equals M and press enter. Disk part successfully assigned the drive letter or mount point. Oh, I shouldn't have given it M because M was already being used. Fail on my part, so it's not going to show up. So I'm going to assign it a different letter, call it G. G is not being used. Press enter. So there's a good example. Always know what you're using. Just look at this and make sure you're not reusing the same letter because obviously two drives cannot use the same drive letter. As soon as I type that command in, assign letter equals G, the drive shows up. I've got all 500 gig or 465 of the formatted drive available now for use. So this is a super easy way of getting all of your drive space back. Now there are certain circumstances when either because a part of the disk is corrupted, or there's something else going on. A lot of times we used to see this a lot with cameras that used SD cards or micro SD cards, and it could corrupt some sectors of the disk, and you won't see the full thing. And sometimes you would not see any of the space after that corruption. So let's say there's 500 gig and there's a corruption somewhere in the middle. So you might only see 250 gig of that disk. And there's really no way around that to fix it. Really, you're just going to be stuck with using the available storage up until that corruption point. But for what we're talking about, when you have formatted something or use some software to create a bootable disk image onto an external drive, sometimes this will happen. Sometimes if you put in an external drive like a SD card or micro SD into a camera and it formats it, if it's say a 2 terabyte SD card and the camera can only support up to 1 terabyte, then it's going to format it with a volume or partition maxing out at that system's capacity, which is 1 terabyte. And then the other terabyte is not visible. It's in a separate unused or unassigned partition. And so doing this type of process can fix that. You could, again, stated earlier, you can add a new partition to that available storage, and now you have 2 drive letters, a G drive and an H drive, whatever you assign it, and it's 2 separate drives. A lot of people don't want that. They want all the available storage inside of one single drive. So this is an easy way that I've always used. It's super fast, and once you notate this down and remember the set of commands, it's very easy. It's disk part, list disk, select disk, clean, format it, and then assign the drive letter. And within 30 seconds, you can be done with all the available storage of your drive. So I hope this tech tip comes in handy. And if you have any questions, post them in the comments below. As always, give me a thumbs up if this helped you out. Let me know of any future tech tips that might help you out that other people might take advantage of as well, and I'll create a video on that. Have a great day. God bless you. See you later.